All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on this beautiful planet. Welcome to the Inner Circle Live pre-New York session. I'm your host for this morning's session, Benny Allen, along with my awesome partner, Mr. Ryan Carthage. And we're definitely happy and grateful for each and every one of you being here with us this morning as we take a look at the technicals and the fundamentals to see what we can take advantage of in this Forex market. So, as always, without further ado, let's make sure we turn off any and all distractions, grab a pen and paper, take lots of notes, and let's make sure that we participate and engage. If everybody can hear me loud and clear this morning, let me know my mic is working. Drop me a one in the chat. Let me know that we are all ready to go so we can get this session on its way. All right. So appreciate it, Michelle. Thank you very much. So, hey, let's make sure that we start each and every morning with a strong foundation, making sure that we are always taking massive action, right? We start with this because it is so very important. We want to make sure that we are accepting all possible losses before entering a trade, preparing you for any outcome. We want to make sure that we center ourselves in body, mind, and spirit, assuring a balanced approach to trading. We always want to trust in our education, strategy, trading skills, and intuition. We always want to imagine our trade successfully materializing, and we want to be sure to obey our trading strategy, avoiding decisions based on greed or fear. We want to make sure that we are never, ever looking back or stopping once our trade has commenced, right? We do all the work, we do all the homework. We want to make sure that we let things play out. All right. So, hope everybody is having a wonderful week so far. Let's get over to trading economics. Hey, the dollar index weakened below 98.5 on Thursday, approaching its lowest level since early 2022, following renewed tariff threats from President Donald Trump, right? So you guys see there's only a few things that we're following this year, and the tariff situation is one of them, right? Trump announced plans to send formal letters to key trading partners within the next 2 weeks, outlining unilateral tariffs intended to pressure countries into trade agreements. Despite the tough rhetoric, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent signaled a potential extension of the current 90-day pause on reciprocal tariffs for countries showing good faith in ongoing trade talks. The dollar has faced sustained selling pressure this year as trade policy uncertainty continues to erode investor confidence in U.S. assets. Additional downward momentum came from the softer than expected CPI reading for May, which raised market expectations for a potential Federal Reserve rate cut as soon as September. All eyes are now on Thursday's PPI release for further clues on the inflation outlook and monetary policy trajectory. So Thursday, we had the UK GDP came out, missed forecast, right? Contracted a bit. So we'll take a look at that. But core PPI month over month, PPI month over month, and unemployment claims for the United States at 8:30, right? So like we just read, all eyes are on this report this morning. So we'll see what happens. On the uh, commodity front, taking a look at gold, rose to 33.70 per ounce on Thursday as escalating U.S.-Iran tensions and fresh trade policy signal from President Donald Trump boosted safe haven demand, right? So we've been talking about that long gold play, right? Some corrections here and there, right? Maybe some 80-20s here and there, but for the most part, long on gold still. The U.S. government on Wednesday ordered the departure of embassy staff to Baghdad after Iran threatened to attack U.S. bases if talks over his nuclear program fall through. Separately, Trump said he intended to send letters to trading partners. We just read this, right? In the next 2 weeks, in the next week or two, setting unilateral tariff rates ahead of the July 8th deadline to reimpose higher duties on dozens of countries. Also supporting gold prices, data released Wednesday showed U.S. consumer prices rose less than expected in May, prompting traders to ramp up bets of a Federal Reserve rate cut as early as September, with markets now anticipating a total of 50 basis points in cuts this year. And like we just said, PPI data is due later today for further clues ahead of the Fed's policy meeting next week, right? So that policy meeting is just around the corner. We know anytime we're in a interest rate cutting environment, we know that gold benefits from that. right? So heading over to the front page though, right? UK GDP contracts more than expected. The British economy contracted by 0.3% month over month in April, marking the first decline in 6 months, the sharpest drop since October of 2023. This follows a 0.2% expansion in March and exceeding expectations of 0.1% decline. Several factors contributed to the downturn, including higher energy bills, the implementation of increased employers' national insurance contributions, and a rise in stamp duty land tax rates. Services was the largest contributor to the GDP uh, decline. All right, so that's where we are. The forecast from Trading Economics says, as far as this report coming out today, U.S. producer prices are expected to rise by 0.2% month over month in May 2025, rebounding from a 0.5% decline in April, which was the sharpest drop since April 2020. Investors will be watching for any signs of inflationary pressures linked to tariffs. Core PPI, which excludes volatile food and energy prices, is projected to increase by 0.3% in May, following a 0.4% decline in the previous month, which was the sharpest fall since 2015. On an annual basis, headline producer inflation is forecasted to increase by 2.6% from 2.4%. And on the other hand, core producer inflation is expected to remain at 3.1%. So we'll see if that report here is on point later today. Should be quite interesting. But any questions so far on the fundamentals? All right. Tariffs continue to be an issue. Tariffs continue to be an issue. Uh, nope, no questions. All right, simple enough. So moving over, right, we're gonna take a look at this DXY first, and then we'll come into some of these other setups that we've been sitting in and on for a while, right? The dollar gone, right? We know that it's been declining since the new administration came into office here in the United States. The dollar is down. We got a 50% pullback on the daily, and we are moving lower. 95, 534. I'm gonna go ahead and put that daily target in right now. Uh, right now. Extension in to see if we can get there. Right. See if we can get there. We're gonna link that to the lower time frames. That is the daily B extension. Coming here to the 4. Jeremy called this out a while ago, said, hey, Benny, isn't that a crown on the 4 hour? I said, it sure is. Right? Thanks for calling that out. And it is coming right off of that right tip of the crown, and it is sinking, right? So here is the daily 1.618 D extension, right? Shout out to Jeremy. 618 D extension. Okay. Because that crown is playing out. And this wave is moving. And so here's our 4 hour D extension, 96,177, just ahead of it. And that didn't stick, so I gotta put that back in there. Daily 1.618, the extension there. Boom. And here is the 4 hour extension just above it. Okay. There on the dollar index. So we are heading lower. All right. So that's where we are on the DXY. So when we see the dollar index tailing off, right? We're not trading the DXY, right? Itself. We just map it out, right? Is it moving in a positive direction or is it moving south on us, right? Right now it's moving south. So when we come into some of these other plays, like we look at this euro dollar setup, right? On our 4 hour, here's the daily move, moving up, okay? Right off the edge of our buy zone. So that dollar continues to tank, right? Becomes simple. Here's our daily extension. That's our projection. We're going to link that down. Boom. We bring that down to the 4 hour. The 4 hour is where I've been sitting in this play. Okay. So you got looks like you got your 4 hour and your daily extension 190, 119.30. Yep, right in the same area. So we are looking like we are heading there. We just broke through a monthly level. So we look for pullbacks and continuations. So here is your ABCD wave. Boom, boom. Okay, just like that. So now this is your larger move. We just came through a high. This is a monthly level. Let's get a price on that. Okay. 114.91, right? So we just broke that level. And so can we get any type of a pullback, right? Any type of a pullback that can help us out along the way here. So if you're not involved, right, we got another high coming in here, 4 hour. Look at this daily. Let's pace it. So we got this right here that's already gone, right? So this level here, boom, about to smash through that too. Okay, so we're looking for any type of pullback and continuation that we can get, right, at this point that'll help us, right, get a lower price and to move higher there, right? So we take a look at clear this out, that's the 30. Here's our 1 hour, right? And we are moving right along, right? Look at your 1 hour play there. Okay. This is the old 80-20 markup, right? Look how we got that correction down through TP2 to 61.8, and then we just exploded from there, right? So this is an old 80-20 off the correction. Same zones every day, right? Same zones every day. And now we're moving higher, right? So we know that this is a daily and a 4 hour extension coming to the line. So we'll say this is the daily / 4 hour 618, the extension. Boom. Okay. There we are. Okay. And we got a 1 hour, right? A shorter, a smaller target, right? That we could go after here. So it all depends on, right? Hey, what what time frame do I like and what am I trading on? Right. You could be successful with our method, right? So this is your 1 hour, 1.618D extension. Why? We got a 61.8 pullback after the 80-20, right? And then we broke. So this is the 1 hour, right? 1.618D extension. So we're just following the waves, right? So we're now moving to the second half of the year, right? And we got some good movement. We get back in that flow, right? We just have to stay patient. You can see it, right? Off the high, boom. See that trend line break? Gone, right? Gone. You can come in closer, right? If you run that trend line through the lows, right? We know how to properly draw our trend lines. This was the lowest point. Boom. This is our C and our ABCD wave. Lights out. Moving. And that's how the game goes. So from an 80-20, TP2, we got the reversal. Make money on the way up or the way down, however you want to play it. Maybe you don't play the 80-20. Maybe you only like playing C to Ds, rolling with that trend. Maybe you only like 80-20s playing counter trend moves. Maybe you like doing both. So it all just depends on what you want to do, right? We can take these out now because that was from the 80-20. And now this is heading long, right? So we know, right, that DXY is just heavily weighted with the euro. So it's really just a mirror image, right? It's just in reverse. If you turn over to DXY, You're looking at the Euro USD, all right? So we come down to like our 30. We know this is heading long. We come in, right? How do we catch a smaller wave, right? How do we catch the smaller wave? We just find it. Boom. This is where we are. This is taking off like a rocket, right? We did not get a pullback on that. But what you're trying to do on these lower time frames is, can we get a pullback, a correction, and then a move higher, right? But that's where we are in the Euro USD. Any questions on that? No?
No, sir.
All right. Good morning, sir. How are you, Ryan?
I'm doing well, man. How about yourself?
Doing pretty good. Doing pretty good. What's on your mind, man?
Man, just watching this dollar move as you're talking about.
All right. Killing it to the downside, man.
Yeah,
Killing
man.
it. So hey, hey, if he wanted a weak dollar, he got it. He had it all year.
Yep. And it's
Abs-
definitely gonna continue down, man.
Yeah, yeah. It's it's going on vacation down south. So that's
Fact.
where that's where we are, man. So that's it, man. Let's talk about earlier, just that tariff game, and then we got the PPI numbers coming out later this morning, 8:30.
Yeah. And if it was anything like the CPI, it might cause the market to run a little bit more.
Yep, yep. So let's see what happens, man. Let's see what happens. Appreciate you being here as always, brother.
No doubt. Appreciate you, man.
Yep. All right. So dollar yen, right? This 4 hour play to the downside. Gone. Right? Gone. Okay. So right now I've got that extension right here, this 127, but I gotta make sure that that's did we get that 146.33? What was the high on that? 146.28. So we didn't it's 33. So we didn't quite get there. So that target, my target is off on that. My target should be here. It should be there. Um, to the downside. This was the 80-20. That play is over now. So this is headed down. So that target should be one at 141.21. Because we didn't quite get this 786 just shy. So moving, moving on downhill, everybody, on the dollar yen. So looking for pullbacks and continuations on these lower time frames, right? It's been all over the place, but right, we definitely have a move. If we move down to your 15 minute, right? If we run it off this high, see if we catch it. Nothing. It's just gone, right? So we have nothing on that right now. Have to wait for it to reset, but we are moving lower on this dollar yen, dollar CAD. I haven't looked at this one. It's moving south still, right? Gone. So we almost to that extension. Okay, so the short play it has been in, right? We pulled back, didn't quite get to a 786 on the dollar CAD. Stops above the A. Look how we respected that trend line, and we're almost to target there at 136.20. That's the 4 hour play there. Right. So we're closing in on the extension there. Any questions on this dollar CAD? No. All right. Okay. All right. So there we are. All right. So moving on, taking a look at the dollar Swiss. Just like how we drew it up. Right. So we're gonna look for pullbacks and continuations. Okay. The dollar's not doing so well, right? Dollar's not doing so well. So moving lower, okay? This is what the market is telling us, okay? Again, it's moving in a wave, right? A, B, C, D. We keep it super simple, right? Moving lower. Look for your zones, look for your sweet spots that you trade, right? Moving down south. Any questions on the dollar Swiss? No?
No, sir.
Uh, so this Aussie dollar, right? And we still, for the most part, have like the Aussie, the Aussie is just not as strong. So you see it's just still a mess, right? That's a tough one, right? Because you look at how everything else is performing against the dollar, and then look at this Aussie dollar trade still, right? So that's just sitting there. That's just sitting there. So not a whole lot to say about that one at all. This pound dollar, right? It's been a long call for a while, everybody. Okay, it's been a long call. You can see the pound. We got some GDP contraction, right? And so it's struggling a bit, right? Moving a little bit sideways, but yeah, it's still on that ABCD trajectory to the upside, right? Weak dollar, so we expect it to get to that extension. All right. So that's where we are on the pound dollar right now as we speak. So move along. So hey, we've got the direction right. Okay. You just have to let things play out. We got the direction right. So this is another one. So again, when you look at that Aussie dollar, right? Now we're looking at the NZD, USD, same scenario, right? So that just tells you like the Aussie and the New Zealand dollar is still not your best performers because that dollar is super weak and we still got to scramble right here, right? Still got to scramble right there. So, easier trades out there, trades that are moving a lot more smoothly. Yes. Right. Yes. These have been, you got that initial correction out of that 80-20 zone, right? Which was a good correction. Right. That's 140 pips, but then we reversed out, right? So those haven't been the best. Look at small, right? Small candles. A lot of back and forth. So not a lot of flow into these right now. Right? I mean, we like this here is just a mess. Not a whole lot going on there. Right? When we look at these dollar crosses, but everything else is moving pretty good. The Euro Aussie play, 80-20. Patience pays, everybody. Patience pays. We got the trend line break on a pullback, right? We told everybody there's a secondary opportunity potentially off of this pullback, right? You got it. Straight up in the air, right? Straight up in the air there, right? Boom, like a rocket ship. Moving into TP1, right? So this move here, right? 317 pips if we reach that target coming off that trend line break. Handing out the setups. Handing out the setups. Right? Look at the daily, longer term chart. Right? So we know that this has more upside potential. Right? How patient, right? How patient do you have to be? You have to be very patient. Right? Let things, right? So this will pull back even further. So we know, right, that we have to adjust that daily target. Right? We've got to adjust that daily target. Okay. Because of the pullback. Right? That's the Euro Aussie. Right? Look at this. Look at our Euro GBP. We marked it up. Are you taking the trade? Are we taking a trade? Are we taking a shot? Right? It's right there, right? This is a Euro GBP play, right? So even off of your break, if you went off of that bullish candle on the other side of that trend line, that's 100 pips. That's a lot for a Euro GBP, right? So let's look at it, right? Euro climbed above 115, its highest level since 2021 as versus the dollar, right? As investors responded to diverging policy signals from the European Central Bank, the ECB, and the US Federal Reserve and the renewed trade war fears, recent comments from ECB officials have reinforced expectations that the bank, right? We talked about this last week, right? When everything was going down, right? We talked about it. They signaled, right, that they may soon pause this easing cycle, opting for a wait and see approach to gauge the economic fallout from the UF tariffs, right? So we know that they gave a rate cut, but we said, hey, let's see what Lagarde has to say, right? Let's see what she has to say because of the forward guidance. And that was the message. That, hey, they may be, at the end of that easing cycle, right? So we're running. And so now we got a little contraction. Right? Back to that front page. UK GDP contracts more than expected. Hmm. Euro may be at the end of the easing cycle, right? Putting it on pause. Okay. And you got UK GDP contracts. Boom. Move to the upside. Move to the upside. Euro yen. Hey, we said, hey, this is rangy. But when you got a large range, whether it's from bottom to top, top to bottom, it's going to move in a wave. We got the trend line break's been moving long ever since, right? So right now, based on that 50% pullback edge of the buy zone, we expect that to get to the 1.618D extension and break that range, right? So look, right? It's just moving. Here we're coming into an 80-20 zone, right? Let's see what happens, but it may push higher, right? It may just continue to push higher, but we'll see, right? But if you do get another correction, right, we look for opportunities to get in. I don't know because we retested that daily level, we held above it, right? So this may continue to push based on the momentum. But the point is, right, we're looking for pullbacks and continuations, right? Here's our daily. Right? So if we're able to get a pullback and a continuation, we'll take it. Right? If that 80-20 ends up playing out on the 1 hour, we'll take that. And then we'll find a new low to try to get involved. Right. My other point is I'm not about to buy this right now. I'm not buying it right now. Right. It's not in any of our zones to buy at this point in time. Okay. So that's where we are on the Euro JPY, Euro NZD, right? We're holding and we're starting to get some momentum. If it doesn't take out the A, it has no choice but to go your way, right? So it's been rangy. It's been quite rangy, right? But look, we may be looking to break out. Okay. So, right? We're just gonna move this over, right? Because it stayed in consolidation for a little while longer. So this is still in play, just further along. All right. We're moving left, we're moving right on the chart. Okay. So we can take this same scenario and apply it here, right? Can we get a breakout and a retest and a continuation? Let's see what happens. Okay. So that's where we are on the Euro NZD, and we already covered the Euro USD. Moving up to the Aussie NZD play that we've been in for a while, right? We're trying to get that to still move down. Okay. So we're still trying to bank that 295. So that's where we are there. Moving into wanted to take a look at, right, our gold play. Long, right? Don't be afraid to hold those long positions, right? Starting to get that price action. Uncertainty with the tariffs, potential rate cuts from the Fed. Let's see what happens with this PPI data today. Hey, safe haven is benefiting. Gold. Gold is benefiting from that, right? So we're starting to move up again. Starting to move up. That's the daily chart. Any questions on gold? Well, all right. All right. So, let me look at this pound. Let's look at these pounds with that data that came out, right? So only on this pound Aussie, right? A nice reversal here. Now we're pulling back on that data, but we're long, right? We're back long now, so we're looking for pullbacks and continuations on that. Let's see what happens. Um, and continue to follow this pound odds because I like it long. We've gotten a pullback now. We've gotten the 80-20 correction. We've hit our buy zone, right? And now we've reversed. You all can see, right, where we've come through now and we've gotten that break. Okay. It's a nice one too. Okay. Matter of fact, we're not quite there yet, right? But we got the reversal out of the zone, right? And so see if sooner or later we can get a breakout, right? So we can switch this up now. Boom. On that long play, we got to pull back to, in between the 50 and the 61.8. But we got a nice move higher, right? So let's see if we can eventually end up with a breakout there on the pound Aussie. Uh, Looked at the pound dollar. Let's look at this pound yen. See what we're doing here. Right. Mainly watch this from the 4. Okay. 8-6 retracement. So we're trying to get to, right, that 1.18 there. Right, so it's taking its time, right? We got these equal highs here. We're struggling, but I do expect it to break through and eventually get there, right to that 1.18 on the pound yen. Uh, so one of the things I wanted to take a look at is change up a little bit. We'll get no, you know what? Matter of fact, let me do this first. Let's take a look at our indices. Let's go ahead and do that. Um, See how we're performing, right? S&P, right? Daily. Okay, we got a 236 bounce, right? We've had some positive gains, right? For the over the last little bit, we ended up down a bit yesterday towards the end, right? When we look at the sector breakdown, but you can see how we're almost when we look at it from the daily, we're almost back to the highs, just like that. So Ryan, uh, the one investor that I was listening to earlier in the year that called 6,500, that is still in play. Second half of the year on the S&P, man. Yep. So it's recovering pretty good, right? It's just a matter of you know, how much we want to correct at this point before continuing. Again, my main focus is still on, what's going to happen with this tax bill, you know, which like I said, I think that's gonna pass. Um, and I think it'll benefit the markets, right? So 6,500 is one investor that I heard earlier this year call it, and that was before the major correction happened, right? Call 6,500. But I think it's got a shot, right? So if we tag come in and we put in 6,500 and parameters. Right, right around that D extension. Right, so it's just a matter of whether or not we pull back on the S&P, but that's the 6,500 target. All right. Any questions on the S&P? No?
No, sir. I'm curious on if we get a pullback on this too. Um, as we get to that high before we break through it and head to that 6,500 level.
Yeah, indeed. Indeed. Let me go down to let's go down to the 1 hour, see what we've got going on as we're
Yeah,
talking
the
about it,
the
correct?
80/20 flows through all three levels, I believe.
Really? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Let's see what happens on that. That's where we are on the one. Let's see if we get a correction. And then a continuation, right? Kind of no man's land right now, right at the edge of that zone.
Hey, Benny, on the
So
4 hour, the 200 is sitting at 5826.
all right, let's see. Boom. Okay. Which and it's moving pretty good to the upside. So let's see what happens, see if we can get a correction down to that level. And see if it'll hold. Appreciate it, Joy.
But
You wanna
I should have looked at
hmm?
the 1 hour. It's coming to the 1 hour 200. I mean, first. So
Okay.
and both of my stochastics is in the buy zone, so it might bounce off the 1 hour.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah, because this has some positive momentum as of late. Yeah, that would be a pretty nice and sizable correction, but it's been such a back and forth year. Like it doesn't surprise me if we get below that 200 and keep moving down. But let's see what happens. See what happens. Good stuff. So that's where we are on the S&P, right? We got this US 30, right? Still trying to track and get to that target, right? So just ranging that's the daily. That's where we are. If we come down, right? We come down to our 1 hour chart. Right now, this is made a bit of a larger correction, right, than that S&P that we just saw. Right, this has made a deep pullback already. We made a deep pullback. So let's see what happens there. See what happens. All right, here we are on the NAS 100. So 80/20. So it's been a good run. Let's see if the market takes a bit of a breather. That's the 4 hour I'm following here. Okay, we've been sitting up in that zone for a while. Okay. It's gonna be interesting. Stay patient. Stay patient. Here we are, right? On the Nikkei, right? 4 hour. Similar situations right now. The market's trying to figure itself out what it wants to do next. Right? So we're moving to the downside slightly right now. Right? But we don't have that 382 yet. Okay. So kind of, you know, there's the UK 100, 80/20 zone. So let's see what happens, right? Let's see what happens with the PPI today, unemployment claims for the US. Let's continue to watch markets fundamentally, right? To see. So we know technically where we are with a lot of things, right? We're kind of in that zone where we can see a correction, right? So if you take anything from this, right, it's man, I'm not buying it right now. Knowing where we are, I'm not buying it right now, right? I had put a I knew better, but I put a small position on that S&P, right? I had taken some profit, put a small position on the S&P right before that correction. Thank goodness it was a small position because I was able to wait it out. But I seen technically where we were at. We were at some high prices, and I put right small position in, and the market dropped. Right, so just a cautionary tale when you see these technical levels. Right, so even though the market may, at any given point in time show a lot of strong momentum, when we get up around these technical levels, just be aware. Right, stay disciplined because I didn't. Right, good. The good thing is the risk management was strong. And now those positions are back in the positive, but I had to wait it out because I was undisciplined. Right? So just know where we are. And then we see this solid black line here. So we are at some pretty high levels. See, this is the monthly UK 100, right? So be aware of these things. Okay? Be aware of these things. Okay, so German 30. See, we don't have that 382. We broke that beat boundary. We hit this 80-20 zone, and you see it starting to decline. Right? You see it starting to decline, right? And so even if it comes back down and double bottoms at this level, even if we come back down and double bottom at this level, it's still a correction, right? So I don't want to buy here, right? So even if you don't trade 80-20s and you say, I like trading with the trend and I think the trend is ultimately bullish, right? I just need a low price. This should signal you, I'm not buying here in this zone. There's a high probability that, right? We may see some profit taken, the market may sell off. Right? Makes sense to everybody? Drop me a 1 in the chat. So knowing and understanding these zones are very, very important. All right. Okay. Appreciate it. So Joy dropped me a 1 in the chat. So she's the only one that gets that. Okay. So moving on to the Russell 2000, right? So right, we got a 382, right? We're seeing a correction. We're seeing a bit of a correction. So let's see what happens there, right? We're coming into past resistance, becoming future support. Maybe we hold in this zone. All right. So that's where we are on that. Pretty cool website, right? Ryan, this is the site that I was telling you about, stockcircle.com, where you could come in and really see all of the your major players, right? And their portfolios and what's going on. So I'll put this in the chat for everybody to take a look at.
Great work, bro.
I appreciate it, man. So this is Stock Circle. And so, for example, if I come in and take a look at Cappy Wood, you can see, right? Tesla, right? Everything that she has. So you guys have the power to do the same thing. You may not do it as on such a large scale, right? But you can see what she's doing. So what's really cool about this, right, is you could click on something like Roblox, and right underneath here, you can see who is holding this, right? Jim Simons, right? You know, um, if you don't know that name, definitely look it up, right? Very, very powerful, right? These are major players in the game, right? Simon's Roadblock Corporation, right? So you could just keep going deeper. This is Renaissance Technology, right? He recently not too long ago passed away. But if you don't know the story about Renaissance Technologies, um, you should definitely you should definitely read and learn about Jim Simons and Renaissance Technology. The story is amazing, right? Valley Gifford, look at this, Ken Griffin, Paul Tudor Jones, right? These stories, like look these people up on YouTube and know their stories, like one of the most famous traders of all times, right? Like Ken Griffin. Look at this. And a lot of times these are major players in the world. So when it comes to finance, when it comes to all these names you're starting to hear that are attached to politics, right? And the things that they are funding, whether it be think tanks and stuff like that, like these are people that you want to read about because these are the major movers and shakers, right? So you can see here all of these people. And what's crazy is, right, you could see what's going on and what they're buying in their portfolios, right? And research these companies, right? So you got like Palantir, right? And all of this plays into politics and everything, right? Because we know Palantir and we know, the name. Keep hearing the name Peter Thiel. You hear the name tied to Elon Musk and everything. And what just read about their backgrounds and how they came to be where they're from, right? And know these names because they're very, very important. So there's Palantir, okay? Right? So we had a member in this group, right? And Palantir brought up Palantir and told us about Palantir at $19. It's at 136. Right? Coinbase, right? Hey, we got a pro crypto administration. Right? Your portfolios, folks. Build your portfolios. We have more access to information than ever before. Right? We've gone over in this group, right? Those those nuggets that really aren't so they really aren't eh, those nuggets really aren't so small, right? Really aren't so small. We've gone over in this group how to go into ChatGPT, how to have it build out a portfolio for you, allocation, risk, everything. Right? We're handing it to you. Robinhood, right? How many times have we said, hey, look, go and start your Robinhood account? Right? Buy shares in Robinhood markets. Look who's holding. Look who's holding. Like who's holding Robinhood. If they're holding it, if they're holding Robinhood, why shouldn't you be? 178%. Shopify, Roku, right? Archer, 93.6%, right? Ryan put us on to Archer, right? Meta, come on now. A lot of us are on Facebook, right? Amazon. So you can see, right, what they're trading, what they're holding. You can even go here, right? You go to Stock Circle, look at Congress trades, right? Because
Oh
we
my
all know
God,
that
they got Pfizer on there. They holding Pfizer?
yeah, 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 right. Just doing it, right? Look at this. Debbie Dingle. Because we know they're all insider trading, right? Right? But you guys hear that, right? Pelosi trade, the Pelosi trade, right? What's being held? too. They have to disclose it.
Benny, this
Hmm.
this this takes our ability to analyze and look at future potential to another level, bro.
Hmm.
Because seeing what they're invested in, and that's even showing their actual positions, right?
Yeah. Yeah. John Fetterman.
Uh, this takes you to a whole nother level, bro. Because now,
And you can see more
well,
trades, right, if
so
you sign up. Hmm.
this takes you to a whole nother level, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. Whole nother level. So let me tell you something. They they can talk about they a Republican and Democrat all they want. I don't care because this is follow the money, everybody. Right? They got you out here raging, fighting, fighting over politics. They're getting up there, having press conferences, debating on the floor of the Congress. Then they're going to some bar afterwards and talking about what they're holding, what they're investing in, right? This is why we try to get everybody focused on this space because this is what's moving the world. Right? This is what it's all about. So while they're bashing each other and policy this and policy that, they're all invested. Look at this is John Fetterman, right? Like this is what's going on. So they could talk about president, do all of this stuff, love him or hate him, but at the end of the day, they're gonna benefit, right? If we're saying, hey, these tax breaks go through, right? They're gonna benefit from it at the end of the day. So what are we doing? What are we focused on? Right? How many times are we gonna fall for the banana in the tailpipe before we decide to get involved? Right? It's top investors, right? You see Buffett, and it's telling you, right? So think about this. So think about on a small scale your return. Like if real life WWE, it is, right? Dad said the movers and shakers, right? Indeed. So think about some of you like who are trading your own accounts, and you may have a small account, you may have $1,000, right? And we're doing our best to teach you everything that we know, right? On top of everything that you know and that you bring to the table, and what you're learning now and what you're going to learn in the future. And so look at these portfolios, right? And look at these percentages and look at these performance. $254 billion portfolio. Performance three, it has it on here, right? Now, this is from this site. And of course, they all have different portfolios for whatever this site follows for these investors. 3.8%, right? It's saying there, right? But that's on $254 billion, right? Michael Burry, right? Negative 4.22%. Kathy Wood, 18.96%. Ray Dowd, 3.72%, right? And whatever, allocation is tracking, right? So for this site, 15.15%. So when you see somebody, now, can we all agree, right? Drop me a two in the chat. Like Deb said, these are the movers and shakers, right? Can we grab a two in the chat if we agree, right? These are the movers and shakers, right? Okay. And you see some of these returns. So how you gonna listen to some guy with a YouTube channel that just started trading last week tell you that they're getting 30% per month every month?
Mm.
And we listen to them because they've become great at marketing, and they know how to work the algorithm, and they got 100,000 followers. Are we gonna keep doing that? Are we gonna keep falling for that? Ray Dalio, right? This is where we are. This is where we are performing, right? 170, right? 77.3%. Right? Look, I how many times like did we go over this, right? Especially before Smart Trader decided to do whatever happened with their licensing, right? iShares. How many times we go over iShares, right? MSCI, 12.2%. iShares Core, S&P 500, ETFs. So when we were talking to the ETFs and we were able to mark them up on Smart Trader, right? 77.3%, right? Did we not cover these? Alibaba, 7.8%. Alphabet, Class A, 41.5%. NVIDIA, 128%. Are we not covering this in this group? Gold Share, Spider ETF. Oh, GLD. We talk about the different ETFs, right? He's holding Meta, right? So we got to figure out how to hold that. This is what they're holding. Amazon, right? Salesforce, PayPal, right? That's down a bit. AMD, right? We were talking about that last year. We were trying to catch the low. Advanced micro devices. Read and figure out what are these companies? What do they do? They play a role, Salesforce, right? If you work for a company or organization, right, that had that has CRM software, oftentimes it's Salesforce, right? Oh, we know how to mark it up, right? We know how to mark it up. There's Meta. We're doing it. We're doing it right here every single day. Here's a Microsoft, right? It just keeps running. This one is just a runner, right? We're following it, right? You could come in and say, you know what? I'm going to mark up Kathy Wood. I'm going to find the charts. I'm going to mark up every chart, right? Here's Palantir, right? Here's Roblox. Look at this ABCD wave. Look at this 80-20 to ABCD wave. It doesn't matter. It's going to move in a wave. Here's your portfolio, everybody. All this other stuff out here is just a distraction. The investors are making it, the entrepreneurs are making money, investing their money. The Congress people who keep begging you for your vote, who keep sending you text messages talking about donate $5 and $10. They're playing the markets. Their money's in the markets. You pay their salaries, and their money's going into the market. Everybody enjoy your day. We'll see you back tomorrow morning, 6:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for the pre-New York session.